The knock came like thunder in the quiet morning. Knock, knock, knock. Lucy's eyes flew open on the thin, dirty mattress. Her heart slammed hard in her chest, like it wanted to escape. For a second, she forgot where she was. Then the smell reminded her. Old dust, damp wood, rot. She sat up fast, her tattered hair falling into her face. Her ash gown was torn at the shoulder and stained with mud. Her throat felt dry. Her hands shook as she listened again. Knock, knock. No, she whispered. It can't be. For 6 years, no one had knocked on her door, not once, because the door was not a real door. It was a rotting wooden frame she found and dragged to the entrance of the abandoned house. She used it like a shield, like a weak wall between her and the world. Another knock came. This time, it sounded close, like the person was right there, standing where the morning light hit the broken entrance. Lucy's stomach tightened, her mind raced through fear like a wild animal. Is it thieves? Is it angry boys? Is it someone coming to chase me away? She held her breath and crawled off the mattress slowly. The floor was cold. Her bare feet met rough concrete. She moved like a shadow, careful not to make noise, even though the house was already falling apart. The knock came again. "Madam," a deep voice called, "is someone inside?" Lucy froze. That voice didn't sound like a thief. It sounded polite. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She stepped closer to the wooden frame and pressed her ear to it. The wood was weak and soft from years of rain. One hard push could break it. She swallowed and forced herself to breathe. Then she gathered courage, held the edge, and pushed the rotten frame open. The morning light rushed in, and Lucy's world stopped. A tall man stood right outside, dark-skinned, clean-shaven, and dressed like royalty. He wore expensive Igbo traditional wear, rich and bold, with a red cap on his head. His shoes looked like they had never touched dust. 2 security guards stood on both sides of him, straight like soldiers. Behind them, on the tarred road, was something Lucy had only seen on TV. A convoy of black SUVs, parked neatly like a line of powerful animals. Lucy's eyes widened so much it hurt. Her mouth opened, but her voice was lost. Because she knew that face. Even after 6 years, even after pain had changed her, even after hunger had made her cheeks thin, she still knew him. Prince Joe, the famous billionaire. The man who once looked at her like she was the only girl in Lagos. The same man she rejected long ago, because she chose her husband instead. Lucy staggered backward as if the light pushed her. Her fingers held the wooden frame for balance. Her knees felt weak. Prince Joe took one careful step forward, his eyes fixed on her face. "Lucy?" he said quietly, like he was scared she might disappear. Lucy tried to speak. Only air came out. Prince Joe's guards glanced at each other, confused. They had probably expected to see a caretaker or a squatter with attitude. They did not expect a woman who looked like life had beaten her and left her behind. Prince Joe's voice broke the silence again. "Can I come in?" Lucy looked at him. Then she looked at herself, her dirty gown, her messy hair, her shaking hands. Shame hit her like hot water. Her eyes filled up fast. She nodded slowly, but the nod felt heavy, like she was giving permission for someone to see the worst part of her life. And when she finally found her voice, it came out like a small cry. "If you won't throw up seeing where I now live," she said, her throat tight, "you can come in." Prince Joe didn't laugh. He didn't wrinkle his nose. He only nodded, serious. "It doesn't matter," he said softly. "Life can happen to any of us." He stepped into the abandoned house. The moment his expensive shoes touched the cracked floor, Lucy's heart squeezed again. Because now it was real. A billionaire was standing in the same ruined room where she slept. Where rats sometimes ran at night, where rain entered through the roof like it owned the place. Prince Joe looked around slowly. The broken window, the roof with holes, the thin mattress on the floor, a small corner where Lucy kept a bucket for water, a rusted tin plate and a plastic spoon. He blinked hard, like he was trying to wake up from a bad dream. Then he looked at her again, and his eyes darkened with pain. "This place," he started, then stopped. His chest rose and fell. The air felt thick. "This place is not fit for a human being," he finally said. Lucy's lips trembled. She turned her face away. Prince Joe took a step closer, but he kept a respectful distance, like he didn't want to scare her. "How do you survive here?" he asked, his voice lower now. "How do you sleep here?" Lucy tried to answer. She truly tried, but her throat closed, and tears began to fall. One tear became many. Her shoulders shook as she covered her face with both hands, crying like a child. Prince Joe stood still for a moment, watching the woman he once wanted so badly. Lucy, once called one of the most beautiful ladies in Lagos, now crying in an abandoned house, looking like someone the world forgot. Prince Joe's jaw tightened. He looked down, then back up at her. "Lucy," he said firmly, like he had decided something. "You are leaving here with me." Lucy quickly shook her head, frightened. "No, no, I can't." "Yes, you can," he said, stronger now. "You need help." Lucy's tears fell harder. Prince Joe continued, his voice full of emotion. "I searched for you everywhere," he said. "Your social media handles were gone. Nobody knew where you were. I kept asking. I kept checking. It was like you disappeared." Lucy stared at him through tears. "Then," he said, swallowing, "I bought this land some years ago. I wanted to start a project here. I came this morning to inspect it. I only knocked to know who was inside." He paused. "And you came out." Lucy's breathing became uneven. So this was not planned. This was not a movie. This was not luck. This was destiny walking into her broken life by mistake. Prince Joe turned to his guards. "Get the car ready," he ordered. The guards moved immediately. Lucy rushed forward, panicking. "Wait," she cried. I don't have anything. I have nothing." Prince Joe looked at her gently. "Take what matters," he said. "Anything important." Lucy's eyes moved around the room. What mattered? There were no gold chains, no bags, no fine clothes, only pain. Only memories. She rushed to a small nylon bag tucked near the wall and pulled out a worn envelope. Inside were old photos, her late parents, smiling on a day that felt like another life, and a picture of her late husband. She held the photos to her chest like they were her whole heart. Then she looked around once more at the abandoned house. 6 years of suffering, 6 years of silence, 6 years of sleeping and waking up to nothing. Now she was about to step out. Lucy wiped her tears and followed Prince Joe outside. The bright morning air hit her skin. Neighbors who normally ignored the abandoned house began to come out quietly, whispering. Lucy heard someone say, "Is that not Prince Joe?" Another voice said, "Who is that woman?" Lucy kept her head down, shame burning her cheeks. Prince Joe opened the back door of one SUV himself, surprising the guards. His gesture was calm but serious. "Get in," he told her. Lucy hesitated. Her hands held the photos tight. Her legs felt weak. She stepped into the SUV slowly, like she was stepping into a dream she didn't deserve. The door closed. The engine started, and as the convoy began to move, Lucy stared out the tinted window at the abandoned house shrinking behind them. Her eyes were still wet, but something else was rising in her chest now. Fear. Because she didn't understand one thing. Why would a billionaire come back for her after 6 years? And why did his face look like a man who had been waiting for this moment? Lucy swallowed hard, then she looked down at the photos in her hands, and she whispered, so softly no one could hear, "Jeremy, what is happening?" The convoy sped toward Prince Joe's mansion, and Lucy didn't know it yet, but the knock that saved her life was also the first step toward a truth that could destroy everything. Lucy's heart refused to calm down. Even as the SUVs rolled through the tall gates of Prince Joe's estate, her eyes stayed glued to that parked black car near the entrance. The plate number. She couldn't read it fully from where she sat, not with the tinted glass and the angle, but the first few letters and numbers looked too familiar, like a wound that never fully healed. Her stomach turned. No, it can't be, she whispered to herself. Prince Joe sat across from her in the same SUV. He was quiet, watching her face like he was trying to understand what was happening inside her mind. "Lucy," he said gently, "are you okay?" She forced a nod quickly. "Yes," she lied. Because how could she explain that a simple plate number was making her body feel like it was back in the worst moment of her life? The convoy stopped. Guards opened the doors. Lucy stepped out slowly, holding her old photos like they were the only real thing she owned in the world. The ground beneath her feet was smooth and clean. The air smelled like flowers instead of dust. And then she looked up. The mansion was not just big, it was like something from a movie. Tall cream walls, shining glass windows, green lawns trimmed perfectly, and a fountain that danced as water sparkled under the morning sun. Lucy's mouth opened. For a second she forgot her pain. "This is your house?" she asked in a tiny voice. Prince Joe gave a small smile. "It's one of them," he said. Lucy almost fell. One of them? She looked at him again, really looked at him, and saw the calm confidence in the way he stood. The way people moved around him quickly, like he was the center of everything. He truly was a billionaire, and she was a woman who had been sleeping in a broken building. A maid in a neat uniform ran out from the main door. "Good morning, sir," she greeted quickly, bending slightly. Her eyes moved to Lucy and widened in surprise, but she controlled her face. Prince Joe's voice became firm, like a man giving an order in his kingdom. "Her name is Lucy," he said. "Take her inside. Make sure she is treated well. She needs a proper bath, proper care. Take her to a good salon. Buy her clothes. Anything she needs." The maid nodded fast. "Yes, sir." Lucy's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. Thank you didn't feel strong enough. Sorry didn't fit. She only stood there, confused and overwhelmed. Prince Joe turned to her. "You're safe here," he said, like a promise. "Nobody will hurt you." Lucy's eyes filled again. Safe. She had forgotten what that word felt like. The maid led her inside. The moment Lucy stepped into the mansion, her legs almost stopped working. The floor was polished and shiny. The air was cool and clean. The curtains looked expensive. A big chandelier hung above like a glowing crown. Lucy's dirty feet looked wrong in that place. She held her photos tighter and followed the maid quietly. The maid showed her a large guest room with a soft bed that looked like it was made of clouds. There was a bathroom bigger than the entire abandoned house. Lucy swallowed hard. "This is where I will stay?" she asked. "Yes, Ma," the maid answered. "Anything you need, you tell me." Lucy nodded slowly, still in shock. When the maid left, Lucy stood alone in the room and stared at herself in the mirror. She looked like someone who had fought with life and lost. Her hair was tangled, her face looked older than her age. Her eyes carried sadness like heavy bags. She touched her cheek and felt how thin she had become. Then she looked at the soft bed behind her, and suddenly her knees buckled. She sat on the edge and began to cry again, quietly this time. Not the kind of crying that screams, the kind of crying that releases years of pain. After some time, the maid returned with two other women. They helped Lucy shower. They washed her hair gently, even though it was badly tangled. They didn't complain. They didn't laugh. Lucy expected them to look at her like she was dirty, but they treated her like she mattered. After the bath, they dressed her in a simple clean gown and wrapped a towel around her hair. Then they took her out. Lucy entered a salon for the first time in years. The women in the salon looked at her at first, surprised. But when they heard Prince Joe's name, they became careful and respectful. They washed her hair again. They trimmed the damaged ends. They used gentle hands. They cleaned her nails. They rubbed cream into her dry skin. Lucy sat in the chair and watched her reflection slowly change. It was still her face, but it looked alive again. When they were done, the maid gave her an envelope. "Sir said you should use this to buy any clothes you want," the maid said. Lucy opened it. Her eyes widened. It was more money than she had seen in her hands for 6 years. Lucy's lips trembled. "This is too much." The maid shook her head. "That is what Sir said." Lucy didn't argue again, she only nodded. They took her to a boutique. Lucy entered and saw clothes arranged like art. Dresses glittered, shoes shone, bags sat neatly like they had never been touched. Lucy felt like she didn't belong there. But the maid stood beside her and said, "Pick what you like." Lucy chose simple clothes at first, plain but beautiful. The maid insisted she pick more. By the time they returned to the mansion, Lucy carried bags that made her feel like she was pretending to be someone else. Back in her room, she changed into an expensive gown. It fit her like it was made for her. She stared into the mirror. For the first time in a long time, Lucy saw a trace of the old Lucy. The Lucy who used to walk in Lagos with confidence. The Lucy people used to admire, but she also saw the pain behind her eyes. She looked away quickly. That evening, a guard knocked on her door. "Madam Lucy," he said politely, "Sir wants to see you in the study." Lucy's heart beat faster. Study. She remembered stories of studies in mansions, rooms where powerful men made big decisions. Lucy took a deep breath and followed. The mansion's hallway felt long and quiet. Her slippers made small sounds on the polished floor. When she got to the study, the guard opened the door. Lucy stepped in. The study smelled like books and expensive perfume. There was a big desk, soft chairs, shelves filled with books, and a small bar at the corner. Prince Joe sat behind the desk, wearing casual expensive clothes now, but still looking like a king. He stood up when he saw her, and for a second he froze. His eyes moved over her face, the clean hair, the expensive gown. The way she stood shyly, like she was scared to break something. Prince Joe's expression softened. "Lucy," he said quietly. Lucy's fingers curled together in front of her. "Good evening," she said. Prince Joe pointed to the chair in front of him. "Sit," he said gently. Lucy sat carefully. There was a short silence. Prince Joe leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the table. "Lucy," he began, "tell me what went wrong." Lucy's throat tightened immediately. The question was like a knife twisting inside her. "What happened to you?" he continued softly. "That you ended up in that abandoned building?" Lucy's eyes filled with tears again. It was like the tears had been waiting for this question. She looked down at her hands. Then she spoke slowly. "It started," she whispered, "the day my husband died." Prince Joe's face tightened. Lucy took a shaky breath. "My husband's name was Jeremy," she said. "He was good. He loved me. We were not rich, but we were happy." She paused and swallowed hard. One day, Jeremy was coming back from work. He was crossing the road. Her voice began to shake. "And a car hit him." Prince Joe's eyes narrowed. "A car?" Lucy nodded. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "It was fast," she said. "Very fast. It knocked him down. People screamed." She squeezed her hands tightly, remembering. "And do you know what made it worse?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. Prince Joe didn't speak. Lucy answered anyway. "The car did not stop." Prince Joe's jaw clenched. Lucy wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "They took Jeremy to the hospital," she continued. "We used all our savings, every naira, even money my parents helped us with. We sold things. We begged." Her voice broke. "But Jeremy still died." Lucy covered her mouth for a second, trying not to cry too loud. Prince Joe's eyes stayed on her, heavy and painful. Lucy forced herself to continue. "After Jeremy died," she said, "I was already empty. But life was not done." She paused, breathing hard, like her chest was too tight. "My parents," she whispered, "they were killed." Prince Joe stood up suddenly. "Killed?" he repeated, shocked. Lucy nodded, tears falling faster now. "They were attacked at home," she said. "I don't even know why. I wasn't there. I only came and found them gone." Prince Joe covered his mouth with his hand for a moment, like he couldn't believe it. Lucy continued, her voice small and broken. "I became alone," she said. "No husband, no parents, no savings, nothing." She sniffed. "Then my uncle came." Prince Joe slowly sat down again, his eyes sharp now. "Your uncle?" he asked. Lucy nodded. "He said my father owed him money," she said. "He took our house. He sold it. He said it was his right." Lucy laughed bitterly, but it wasn't a real laugh. "My father never told me about any debt," she said. "But who would listen to me? I was just a widow with no strength." She wiped her face. "I tried to fight," she whispered. "But everything was too much. I couldn't stay with friends forever. People got tired. I got tired too." Prince Joe's eyes looked like fire now. "And that's how you ended up there?" he asked, his voice low. Lucy nodded slowly. I didn't want to beg, she said. I didn't want people to pity me. So I disappeared. Prince Joe stared at her. Lucy's voice became even softer. I went to that abandoned house because nobody went there, she said. At first, I told myself it would be for a few days, just until I found my feet. She swallowed. But days became weeks. Weeks became months. And months became years. Her voice broke completely. 6 years. Prince Joe's fist tightened on the desk. Lucy looked up at him with wet eyes. I wasn't living, she whispered. I was only surviving. Prince Joe stood up again and began to pace the room slowly, like he was angry at the world. This is madness, he muttered. This is madness. Lucy watched him, scared she had upset him, but Prince Joe stopped suddenly and faced her. Lucy, he said, his voice calmer but firm, I want you to understand something. Lucy sniffed. You are not going back there, he said. Lucy's lips trembled. But, no, he cut in gently, no but. You are staying here, and I will help you rebuild your life. Lucy stared at him. Rebuild. That word sounded like something for other people, not her. Prince Joe walked closer. Then he surprised her. He bent down slightly so his face was close to hers, not touching, not forcing anything, just close enough for her to feel his seriousness. And listen, he said quietly, I did not rescue you because I want to show off. I rescued you because I never stopped caring. Lucy's eyes widened. Prince Joe's voice dropped even lower. I loved you once, he said, and seeing you like that, it feels like someone stabbed me. Lucy couldn't breathe properly. The room became quiet again. Then Prince Joe stood up straight. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow I will take you somewhere. Lucy wiped her eyes. Where? Prince Joe looked at her for a long second. To my company, he said. You are smart, Lucy. You will work. You will be busy. You will heal. Lucy's heart jumped. Work? In a billionaire's company? Before she could speak, Prince Joe added, And Lucy, I will also find your uncle. Lucy froze. Her blood ran cold, because her uncle was not just a greedy man, he was dangerous. Lucy's lips parted. Prince Joe, she whispered, trembling, please don't. He will hurt you. Prince Joe's eyes hardened. He already hurt you, he said. Lucy felt fear rise in her chest like a storm. She stood up quickly, shaking her head. No, no, please. Prince Joe raised his hand gently, not to threaten her, but to calm her. Rest, he repeated. We will talk more. Lucy slowly nodded, but her stomach remained tight. She turned to leave the study, her legs weak again. As she reached the door, Prince Joe spoke one more time. Lucy. She stopped and looked back. His face was serious. I promise you, he said, nobody will ever throw you away again. Lucy's eyes filled again. She nodded and left. But as she walked back to her room, something happened. She passed a hallway window and saw the driveway clearly. And there it was again, that same shiny black car parked near the side. This time the lights outside made the plate number clearer. Lucy's heart stopped, because now she could read it, and her blood ran cold. It was the exact plate number she had written down years ago, the plate number of the car that knocked down Jeremy, the car that never stopped. Lucy's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes widened in terror, and the only name in her mind was Prince Joe. Lucy did not sleep that night. She lay on the soft bed in Prince Joe's mansion, but her body felt like it was still on the thin mattress in the abandoned house, tense, stiff, afraid. Her eyes stayed open in the dark, because every time she closed them, she saw it again. The plate number, clear, exact. The same numbers she had written down with shaking hands on the day Jeremy was hit. The same plate number she kept like a secret weapon, even when she had nothing else left. Lucy sat up slowly, breathing hard. No, she whispered. It can't be him. But her mind did not listen. Her mind started dragging out memories like heavy bags. The day Jeremy was knocked down, the scream of people on the street, the smell of blood and dust, Jeremy's weak voice in the hospital, and that last day, when he could barely speak, but still tried. Lucy's eyes burned with tears. She reached into her small handbag beside the bed and pulled out the worn envelope she always guarded. Her photos and the few papers she never let go of, even in the abandoned house. Her fingers trembled as she searched. Then she found it. A folded paper, old and soft from being opened many times. Jeremy's letter. Lucy pressed it against her chest, her heart pounded like a drum. She looked around the room as if someone might be watching her. Then she unfolded the letter slowly. The handwriting was shaky but clear, Jeremy's handwriting. Lucy mouthed the words as her eyes moved across the lines because she already knew them by heart. Lucy, if I don't make it, please don't let it go. The car that hit me did not stop. It was wrong. Promise me you will fight for justice. Even if it takes time. You are strong, my love. Don't let my death be nothing. Lucy's lips trembled. Jeremy, she whispered. She squeezed the letter and began to cry again. Quietly, so the maids would not hear. She didn't just cry because she missed him. She cried because she felt trapped. Because Prince Joe had just saved her. He had just pulled her out of 6 years of darkness. And now this plate number was screaming that he might be connected to the worst thing that ever happened to her. Lucy wiped her face and stood up. She walked to the window and pulled the curtain slightly. Outside, the compound lights made the driveway glow, and the car was still there. Lucy stared at it like it was a monster pretending to be normal. Her throat went dry. She forced herself to breathe slowly. Maybe it's not the same, she told herself. Maybe I'm making a mistake. But deep inside, she knew she wasn't. Lucy stepped back from the window and sat down again, her hands shaking. She didn't know what to do. If she accused Prince Joe without being sure, she could destroy everything. But if she stayed quiet, she would betray Jeremy. Lucy hugged the letter tightly, and then she whispered a sentence that scared her more than anything. What if Prince Joe did not just find me by mistake? What if he knew exactly where I was? The thought sat in her mind like a stone. Lucy tried to push it away, but she couldn't. The next morning, a new life, a heavy secret morning came like it always did, bright and careless. But Lucy felt like she was carrying a storm inside her. A maid knocked on her door. Madam Lucy, the maid said gently. Good morning. Sir said you should get ready. He is taking you out. Lucy forced a smile. Okay, she replied. She dressed in a simple outfit, clean, neat, but not too flashy. She didn't want to look like she was pretending. When she entered the living room, she saw Prince Joe already waiting. He wore a crisp shirt and trousers, a watch shone on his wrist. He looked calm, like a man in full control of life. His eyes softened when he saw Lucy. Good morning, he said. Good morning, Lucy answered quietly. Prince Joe studied her face. You didn't sleep well, he said. Lucy quickly looked away. I slept, she lied again. Prince Joe didn't argue. He only said, You'll be fine. Then he walked her outside. Lucy's stomach tightened as they passed the driveway. The car, the plate number. Lucy tried not to stare, but her eyes betrayed her. They flicked toward it for 1 second. Prince Joe noticed. What is it? He asked. Lucy's heart jumped. She forced a small laugh. Nothing, she said fast. I'm just not used to all these cars. Prince Joe nodded slowly, but his eyes stayed thoughtful. They entered an SUV, and the convoy moved. This time, Lucy watched the road, not the cars. She needed something to hold on to that was not fear. Prince Joe's company. The company building was tall and modern, shining in the Lagos sun. People moved in and out like ants, fast and busy. Lucy stepped out and froze. She had not been in a place like this in years. Guards greeted Prince Joe with respect. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Some people even bowed slightly. Lucy felt small again. Prince Joe walked beside her and said calmly, Walk with your head up. Lucy obeyed. They entered the building. Inside, the air conditioning was cool. The floor was shiny. Screens displayed company news. Workers wore neat clothes and walked like they had purpose. Lucy swallowed. Prince Joe led her to a floor where the offices looked even more expensive. He opened the door of a large office. This is my space, he said. Lucy stepped in and looked around. Then Prince Joe pointed to a smaller office beside it. And that will be your office. Lucy blinked. My office? Prince Joe nodded. "You will be my personal assistant," he said. "Starting today." Lucy's heart skipped. "Me?" she asked. "But I've been away from work for years." Prince Joe's voice was firm. "You are smart," he said. "I remember how sharp you were, and you will learn fast." Lucy's fingers curled nervously. "What will I do?" Prince Joe gave a small smile. "You will manage my schedule," he said. "You will attend meetings with me. You will help me keep order. You will remind me of things I forget. You will be my right hand." Lucy's eyes widened. That sounded like a huge job. Prince Joe saw her fear and added gently, "You won't be alone. My team will guide you." Lucy nodded slowly. Deep inside, a small spark of hope tried to rise. Maybe she could rebuild. Maybe she could be Lucy again. But then the plate number flashed in her mind like lightning, and the spark shook. Weeks pass, high moments and quiet fear. Lucy surprised herself. She was good. She learned the company system quickly. She arranged Prince Joe's meetings. She wrote down his important calls. She organized his files. She even corrected small mistakes in schedules before they became problems. Prince Joe noticed. One afternoon he looked at her and said, "You haven't changed." Lucy froze. "What do you mean?" Prince Joe leaned back in his chair. "I mean, you still have fire," he said. "Life tried to bury you, but you're still here." Lucy didn't know what to say. She only nodded and looked away. But that day, for the first time, she felt something strange. Pride. She hadn't felt pride in 6 years. The days became busy. Lucy woke up early, worked, came home, slept. She began to eat properly again. Her cheeks filled out slightly. Her eyes started to shine again, even if pain still lived behind them. And something else started happening too. Prince Joe was always watching her, not like a boss watching a worker, like a man watching someone he had missed. Sometimes, when Lucy handed him a file, his fingers brushed hers lightly and he would pause for a second too long. Sometimes, when she spoke in meetings, he would smile like he was proud. Sometimes, when she laughed at something small, he would stare like he was memorizing the sound. Lucy noticed all of it, and it scared her because her heart was weak. Her heart wanted comfort, her heart wanted safety, her heart wanted love again, but her mind kept yelling, "The plate number, the plate number, the plate number." The traveling begins. Prince Joe traveled often for business, and he took Lucy with him. They flew to Abuja, they flew to Ghana, they flew to Dubai. Lucy entered airports again. She wore neat clothes, she carried a laptop bag. People called her Ma. Sometimes Lucy would sit in hotel rooms and stare at the city lights outside, shocked that she was living again. Prince Joe treated her with care, but he also kept a respectful line. He never touched her in a way that made her uncomfortable. He never forced closeness, but Lucy could feel his feelings growing, like a quiet fire, and the more Lucy saw his kindness, the more confused she became. Because how could a man who was this gentle be connected to a crime that destroyed her life? One evening in Dubai, after a long meeting, Lucy and Prince Joe sat in a quiet hotel lounge. Prince Joe looked at her and asked, "Do you ever think about the past?" Lucy's stomach tightened. She forced a calm face. "Sometimes," she answered. Prince Joe nodded slowly. "I do too," he said, "and there are things I regret." Lucy's fingers tightened around her glass of water. "What kind of things?" she asked carefully. Prince Joe stared into space like he was fighting with his own thoughts. "Things I did not handle well," he said. "Times I was careless." Lucy's heart pounded. Careless. That word hit her like a slap. But before she could ask more, Prince Joe stood up. "You should rest," he said. "Tomorrow is another long day." Lucy nodded, but her mind screamed all night. Back in Lagos, the pull of love. Months passed. Lucy's life looked beautiful on the outside, but inside she was carrying a secret that was eating her slowly. Then one day, they returned from a business trip in the United Kingdom. The flight was long. Lucy was tired. But when they landed and entered the private car, Prince Joe looked different. Too quiet, too serious. Lucy glanced at him. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Prince Joe didn't answer immediately. The car moved through Lagos roads, heading to the mansion. Lucy watched him from the corner of her eye. Finally, when they arrived at the house, Prince Joe didn't go inside immediately. He stopped in the compound where the evening light made everything look golden. Lucy stood beside him. Then Prince Joe turned to her. "Lucy," he said. "Yes?" she replied. His voice was calm, but his eyes were heavy. "I have waited too long," he said. Lucy's breath caught. Prince Joe slowly went down on one knee. Lucy's eyes widened. The world seemed to stop. The maids inside saw it and gasped quietly. Guards looked away out of respect. Prince Joe held up a small box. When he opened it, a ring sparkled like a star. Lucy's mouth opened, but no words came. Prince Joe looked up at her with serious eyes. "Marry me," he said. "Let me spend the rest of my life making sure you never suffer again." Lucy's legs shook. Her heart cried yes. Her mind shouted no. And right there, as she stared at the ring, she saw the plate number again in her mind. Sharp, cold, unforgiving. Lucy's hands flew to her mouth. Tears spilled from her eyes. Prince Joe smiled, thinking her tears meant happiness. But Lucy's tears were something else. They were confusion. They were fear. They were love fighting truth. Prince Joe waited, still on his knee. The whole compound felt silent. Lucy stared at him, trembling, and the biggest question in her life burned on her tongue. Should I marry the man who saved me, when I'm not sure if he is also the man who killed Jeremy? "Lucy, say something." Prince Joe's voice sounded far away, like it was coming from underwater. Lucy stood frozen in the compound, tears running freely down her face. The ring in Prince Joe's hand shone brightly, but all she could see was blood on the road. A man lying still, and a car that never stopped. The past and the present crashed together inside her chest. Lucy tried to speak, but her voice failed her. Prince Joe's smile slowly faded. He stood up from his knee, worry spreading across his face. "Lucy," he said gently, "did I scare you?" She shook her head quickly. No, it's not that," she said, wiping her tears. "I'm just overwhelmed." Prince Joe studied her face closely. "Is it too soon?" he asked. "If you need time, I can wait." Lucy felt her knees weaken. Time. Time was exactly what she needed, but also what she was afraid of. Because the longer she waited, the deeper she would fall. Lucy took a deep breath. "Yes," she whispered, "I need time." Prince Joe nodded slowly. "Okay," he said, "take all the time you need." "I'm not going anywhere." Lucy forced a small smile. Inside, her heart was breaking. The wedding that shook Lagos time passed, and against everything Lucy feared, love slowly won small battles in her heart. Prince Joe remained patient. He did not pressure her. He treated her with care, respect, and kindness. He supported her work, praised her intelligence, and made sure she never felt small again. Lucy tried to ignore the voice in her head. She told herself maybe she was wrong. Maybe the plate number was just a coincidence. Maybe she was holding on to pain too tightly. And then, one evening, she said yes. The engagement became public news. Lagos exploded, blogs wrote stories, social media buzzed, newspapers printed headlines. Billionaire Prince Joe to marry former PA. Love found after tragedy. Lucy watched it all like it was happening to someone else. The wedding came fast, too fast. The day was bright and loud and colourful. The venue was filled with flowers, lights, cameras, and important people. Celebrities came, politicians came, business leaders came. Lucy stood in her wedding gown, looking like a dream. People whispered, "She's lucky." People whispered, "She's blessed." People whispered, "From nothing to everything." But Lucy knew something they didn't. Happiness built on silence can collapse like sand. When Prince Joe held her hands and said his vows, Lucy's heart trembled. When she said "I do," a tear escaped her eye, not just from joy but from fear. They were now husband and wife. And Lucy prayed silently, "God, if I am making a mistake, please show me." The letter that never left her marriage changed Lucy's life again. She moved fully into the mansion as a wife, not a guest. She traveled less for work now, but more for rest. Prince Joe was a loving husband. He listened to her, he laughed with her, he protected her. Slowly, Lucy became pregnant. When she saw the test result, she cried with joy and fear mixed together. Prince Joe lifted her and spun her around. "I'm going to be a father," he shouted happily. Lucy smiled, but later that night, when Prince Joe slept beside her, Lucy sat up quietly. She reached into her drawer and pulled out Jeremy's letter. She had never thrown it away. She never would. She unfolded it again and read it slowly, word by word, like it was the first time. Her heart squeezed painfully. "Jeremy," she whispered, tears falling. "What do I do?" She felt the baby move gently inside her. A new life growing, a life tied to Prince Joe. Lucy pressed her hand to her stomach. "I will protect you," she whispered to her unborn child. But she knew protection also meant truth. The confirmation. One afternoon, weeks later, Lucy sat alone in the living room. Prince Joe had gone out with his convoy. She felt restless. The baby kicked lightly. Lucy stood up slowly and walked toward the garage. Her heart beat loudly. She didn't know why she was going there, but her legs carried her anyway. The garage door was open, and there it was. Prince Joe's black car, clean, shiny, silent. Lucy walked closer, her breath shaking. She bent slightly and stared at the plate number. Clear, undeniable. Exact. Lucy's hand flew to her mouth. "No," she whispered. Her knees nearly gave way. She stumbled backward and leaned against the wall, breathing hard. This was not imagination. This was not fear playing tricks. This was truth. The car that killed Jeremy belonged to her husband. Lucy slid down slowly until she sat on the floor. Her chest burned, her head spun. How could this happen?" she cried softly. She remembered Prince Joe once saying he regretted times he was careless. Careless. That word now had a face, a plate number, a death. Lucy pressed both hands to her stomach. The baby moved again, and Lucy knew something inside her had changed forever. The dream that night, Lucy could not sleep. Her body was tired, but her mind refused rest. When sleep finally came, it came heavy. And then the dream started. Lucy found herself standing on a dark road. Rain poured, cars rushed past. Then she saw him. Jeremy. He stood on the side of the road, wearing the clothes he wore that day. Blood stained his shirt. His eyes were sad but calm. "Lucy," he called. She ran to him, crying. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't know." Jeremy lifted his hand gently. "I know," he said softly. Lucy sobbed. "What do I do now?" Jeremy looked at her stomach, then back at her face. "Justice," he said. Lucy shook her head. "But I love him now. And I'm carrying his child." Jeremy's voice was firm, but not angry. "Justice does not cancel love," he said, "but silence kills truth." Lucy fell to her knees. "Please," she begged, "I'm tired." Jeremy knelt and looked into her eyes. "Lucy," he said, "if you forget me, you forget yourself." Then he touched her forehead lightly. "Fight," he whispered. Lucy screamed and woke up. Her body was soaked in sweat. Her chest rose and fell fast. "Jeremy," she cried. Prince Joe woke up immediately. "Lucy," he said, sitting up. "What happened?" Lucy breathed hard, trying to calm herself. It was a nightmare," she said quickly. "Just a bad dream." Prince Joe pulled her gently into his arms. "Everything is okay," he said. "You're safe." Lucy closed her eyes. But she knew she wasn't. The call that changed everything. The next morning, while Prince Joe was away, Lucy sat alone and made a decision. Her hands shook as she picked up her phone. She searched a number she had not called in years. Barrister Solomon, the lawyer who handled Jeremy's case for free when nobody cared. The phone rang. "Hello?" a calm voice answered. "Barrister Solomon," Lucy said, her voice trembling. "It's Lucy." There was a pause. "Lucy?" he said, surprised. "Lucy Jeremy?" "Yes," she whispered. "Ah, how are you?" he asked kindly. Lucy swallowed. "I found something," she said. "Something important." "What is it?" he asked seriously. "The plate number," Lucy said. "The car that hit my husband." There was silence. "And?" Barrister Solomon asked carefully. "It belongs to my husband," Lucy said, tears streaming. "Prince Joe." The line went quiet. Then Barrister Solomon spoke slowly. "Lucy," he said, "are you sure?" "Yes," she replied. "I've checked." Many times. Barrister Solomon sighed deeply. Then you have a duty, he said. Lucy's chest tightened. A duty to who? She asked. To the truth, he replied. To your late husband. And even to yourself. Lucy cried quietly. I'm pregnant, she said. He saved me. He changed my life. Barrister Solomon's voice softened. And that does not erase what happened, he said. Justice must still speak. Lucy closed her eyes. What do I do? She asked. Barrister Solomon paused. Come to my office, he said. We will take this step carefully. Lucy hung up. Her heart pounded. She placed her hand on her stomach. I'm sorry, she whispered to her baby, but I must do this. The knock again. That evening, Lucy sat in the lavish living room, staring into space. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then, knock, knock. Lucy jumped. The sound froze her blood. The maid rushed in. Madam, she said nervously, the police are here. Lucy's heart dropped. Before she could speak, uniformed officers entered the living room. And behind them, Prince Joe. His face was confused. What is going on? He asked. The lead officer spoke firmly. Prince Joe, he said, you are under arrest for a hit-and-run incident that led to the death of one Jeremy. Lucy stood up slowly, her hands shaking. Prince Joe turned to her sharply. Lucy, he said, shocked. What is this? Tears streamed down Lucy's face as she whispered, I'm sorry, but justice must be served. Prince Joe's world began to collapse. Prince Joe's arrest shook Lagos like an earthquake. By morning, the news was everywhere. Billionaire CEO arrested over fatal hit-and-run. Wife reports husband to police. Love turns to courtroom tragedy. Lucy did not read the news. She sat alone in her bedroom, holding her stomach, listening to the sound of the mansion that no longer felt like home. Her hands would not stop shaking. She loved Prince Joe, but she also loved the man who died begging for justice. And now, the two worlds had finally collided. The courtroom. The courtroom was packed. Cameras waited outside, journalists whispered, people argued in low voices. Lucy sat quietly, her pregnant belly round under a simple dress. She did not wear makeup. She did not want to hide her pain. When Prince Joe was brought in, the room fell silent. He looked different. No red cap, no royal clothes, no confidence, just a man in handcuffs, eyes tired, face heavy. When his eyes met Lucy's, something broke inside both of them. Prince Joe did not shout. He did not insult her. He only whispered one sentence as they passed each other. You should have told me. Lucy closed her eyes. Tears ran freely. The truth comes out. The trial did not last long. Evidence spoke louder than emotions. The plate number, witnesses, medical reports, security logs. Prince Joe finally remembered. That night years ago, he had been rushing for a private meeting. His convoy had hit someone. His driver panicked. His guards advised him to keep moving. And he listened. Not because he hated the man, but because he thought money could fix anything. In court, Prince Joe stood quietly as the judge spoke. Carelessness does not excuse death, the judge said firmly. Lucy was called to testify. Her legs trembled as she walked to the stand. She looked at Prince Joe. Then she spoke, her voice shaking but clear. I would not have done this, she said, crying, but justice must be served. My late husband, Jeremy, deserved justice. The courtroom was silent. Prince Joe lowered his head. After examining all evidence, the judge gave the verdict. Prince Joe was sentenced to 10 years in prison with $1 million compensation to the family of the deceased. The gavel hit, and everything ended. A child is born. 2 weeks later, Lucy went into labor. The pain was strong, but the pain in her heart was stronger. She gave birth to a baby boy. She named him Anderson. As she held him for the first time, tears filled her eyes. Your life will be different, she whispered. You will know truth. Prince Joe was allowed to see the child once. He held Anderson gently, his eyes wet. I'm sorry, he whispered to Lucy, not just to you, to him, to Jeremy. Lucy nodded. But sorry could not undo the past. The final decision. 1 month later, Lucy filed for divorce, not out of anger, but out of clarity. She stood before the court and said calmly, I cannot be with a man who does not respect the sacredness of human life. The court granted the divorce. Prince Joe was ordered to pay Lucy $1 million and co-parent their son from prison. That chapter of Lucy's life closed quietly. No celebration, no hatred, just acceptance. Inside the prison, in his cell, Prince Joe had time to think. He remembered the abandoned house, the knock, Lucy's tears. He regretted many things. But one truth stood clear: Lucy did not destroy him. She revealed him. She was never a bad person, he said to himself. She just showed me my wrongs. Lucy's new dawn. Lucy moved to a smaller, peaceful home. She raised Anderson with love. She started helping other women who had lost everything, using the compensation money to build something meaningful. Sometimes, at night, she would sit quietly and look at the sky. She missed Jeremy, she respected Prince Joe, and she chose herself. Her life had started in an abandoned house. It rose in a mansion. It was broken in a courtroom. But it finally found peace in truth. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.